Okay, rules will start in just a minute. We're waiting for Councilman Fusco and Malik.
Reporting for duty, Mr. Chair.
All right, we're going to call the rules meeting to order. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting? Motion a second. All in favor? For the record, all members are present with the exception of Councilman Malik. We have one piece coming before us offered by Councilwoman Samples, resolution expressing support of Crown, creating a respectful and open workplace for natural hair legislation, also known as Crown legislation, calling upon the Ohio General Assembly to introduce and pass legislation creating statewide Crown legislation and declaring an emergency. And I am so anxious to hear about this one. Ms. Samples, if you would please speak to us.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. The Crown legislation came forward due to workplace discrimination based off of natural hair. And although there's federal laws that prohibit discrimination based off race, there is no federal law prohibiting them discriminating against natural hair. Many of my colleagues know I change my hair quite often, so sometimes you know who I am and sometimes you don't. And I just think it's important that we make sure these kind of things don't happen in our city and in our state. This legislation has actually already been passed in 3 states, California, New York, and New Jersey, and we have 22 other states where it's pending right now. I have spoken with Representative Galansky and Sykes, and they are planning on doing something down in Columbus as well. This really just sets the stage to make sure that we put those protections in place for men and women who may wear their hair differently and not being discriminated because of it. As we've seen in the news on countless occasions, we see young men being told they have to cut their dreads off in order to participate in sports or even to graduate. I read an article this morning of a news anchor in Jackson, Mississippi, who was fired for having natural hair. She asked her boss, could she leave her hair in its natural state because she had just had a baby? They told her yes. She said a couple weeks went by, they called her in the office and told her they needed her to straighten her hair back. And when she didn't, she was immediately terminated. And can you imagine being this news anchor who's doing their job, being terminated just because you want to keep your hair in a natural state? We're not talking about going into the workplace as if you stuck your finger in a socket, but just wearing your natural hair. That's why I chose to wear my hair natural today, just because I just think it's important that people really understand what this means to a lot of people. Sometimes you just want to keep it in its original state, and I think that should be okay, and people not have to worry about if they're going to be terminated because of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I would have to, oh, Ms. Amobian? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I would have to assume, obviously, I would think when it comes to food preparation, things like that, it doesn't affect covering anything like that.
No, because even when you work in the food industry, you still have to wear something on your head and on your hands. So No, that doesn't seem like that would even be the issue that they're dealing with. What they're talking about when they discuss this is literally going into the workplace with your natural hair and almost being targeted because of it. As many of you know, as we watched the Oscars a couple weeks ago, Matthew Cherry, who graduated from University of Akron, his book is based off of this. His book is based off of the Crown legislation. And so I just think it's phenomenal. And he won an Oscar for it. And they talk really openly about making sure that our kids know that it's okay for them to just be who they are, not feeling like they have to change for people. And so he's put forth a big initiative push across the country to try to get as many legislators on board to get this legislation passed. So I'm honored to do so. Thank you.
Wow. Comments?
I have just been thoroughly educated about, I didn't realize this was such a problem. I've heard people having issues with dreads and, you know, different things like that, but I didn't realize there was any kind of legislation that's coming down the pipe. But I certainly support it. I mean, people should be judged on what they bring to the table as opposed to how they look.
If we could.
Okay, we have a motion for suspension of the rules. Is there a second? Okay, motion for suspension of the rules and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Okay, we'll pass that out this evening and look to you for comments as well. I'm going home and let my hair grow, so. Thank you. We are adjourned. Yeah.